Everybody ready? Everybody ready? This time we'll call the June 20th, 2022 Planning Board meeting to order. This time we'll raise and stand and we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, at this time we'll move on to item 2A, approval of the meeting minutes. Everybody had a chance to look at the meeting minutes? If so, are there any corrections or errors or omissions? Anything we need to be made aware of? I did find one. It's really small. I think the gentleman that spoke was Moto Parthy, not Moto Parky. So, yeah, I think it's TH instead of a K. It's on, I don't know what sheet it was on, but that might be something minor. But anybody else have anything? If not, entertain a motion.
Move they be approved as written.
Got a motion? Have a second?
Would you like to amend that for the?
With
the correction?
Amendment, yeah.
I second.
All right. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We will move on to public hearings. I'm going to read a blanket statement as it pertains to public hearings. Public hearings are a time for petitioners to present requests and for the public to state their concerns and voice opinions in favor or opposition of these requests. And at this time, I will ask our planning director to review the meeting protocol for public participation as it relates to this meeting.
Thank you. Tonight's meeting is both in-person and virtual. Tonight's meeting contains scheduled public hearings. Due to the hybrid nature of the meeting, the public will be invited to comment both in person and virtually via the Zoom virtual meeting platform. When it is the appropriate time, the chair will first call on those wishing to address the planning board that are attending in person, followed by those wishing to address the planning board via the Zoom platform. All attendees that have appeared in person to address the planning board should provide your name and address on the registration log at the podium during the public hearing you intend to speak on. All attendees that have joined the meeting virtually have joined muted. If those joining virtually wish to address the planning board related to a scheduled public hearing, they will need to notify the town host that they wish to speak. For the public's benefit that may be joining the meeting via the Zoom platform, please press the raise hand button in the Zoom app to notify the town host you wish to address the board. Please press *9 to raise your hand if joining by telephone to notify the town host. After an individual has raised their hand, they will enter a queue. When the scheduled public hearing begins, the chair will ask the town host to recognize individuals that have notified the town host they wish to speak by calling out their name or the last 4 digits of their telephone number. Individuals will be unmuted one at a time and invited to address the planning board. We ask all those wishing to address the planning board to begin their comments by clearly stating their name and address for the public record. This concludes the protocol for tonight's meeting.
Thank you. We will move into item 4A, but prior to 4A, I need to request recusal of myself and appoint Jay as the acting chair.
I move that you be recused from this next item and Jay serve as acting chair.
Got a motion? Second?
Second.
Got 2 seconds. All in favor? Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Jay, you have the reins.
All right. We'll start 4A with zoning map amendment, Curry Engineering Group, PLLC, 400 Southwest Judd Parkway, in number 065-6555-207, REZ 202204. And the motion is to recommend approval of REZ 202204 zoning map amendment at 400 Southwest Judd Parkway from General Commercial Conditional Zoning District to the General Commercial Conditional Zoning District. The proposed map amendment is consistent with the 2040 Community Vision Land Use Plan and reasonable and is best interest of the public for the reasons identified by staff. And we'll let staff go now.
Thank you. I am submitting the agenda abstract and supporting documents in the official records of the town. This property totals 9.27 acres and is currently in the town's corporate limits. The property is vacant and generally forested with a creek running north to south through the center of the property. The property is currently zoned General Commercial Conditional Zoning District. The zoning map amendment petition requests approval of the General Commercial Conditional Zoning District. This zoning district is intended to permit a mix of high-intensity, non-residential development of convenience services, retail, office, institutional, regional, retail shopping, employment centers, and service uses. This property was rezoned as part of REZ 2017-34 that also included the Infinite Self-Storage Facility at 408 and 414 Southwest Judd Parkway. This rezoning petition is applicable only to 400 Southwest Judd Parkway and does not amend any of the zoning conditions on the adjacent properties. The purpose of this petition is to both update the permitted and prohibited uses to match the town's current permitted uses in the general commercial zoning district and to appropriately expand the permitted uses at the property in order to provide opportunity for a viable commercial and/or flex-based development. The following zoning conditions were approved as part of REZ 2017-34 and remain applicable as part of this updated amendment. Number 1, 25% of the land shall remain undisturbed. 2, there shall be no outdoor storage allowed on the site. 3, Type A landscape buffering shall be required on the southern and eastern boundaries of the project within 50 feet on the southern and 40 feet on the eastern side. 4, lighting shall be no more than 20 feet in height and will contain full cutoff fixtures that emit light at 45 degrees or less to the ground. 5, building materials shall be of neutral colors and materials used shall be in harmony with the town's requirements per section 9-1356 of the LDO. The petitioner is requesting the following uses be prohibited at the subject property. Those uses marked with an asterisk were previously prohibited as part of REZ 2017-34. In the interest of simplicity, I'm going to read to you first the items that were previously prohibited and still are prohibited, and then I'll add the ones that they're adding. So previously prohibited, still prohibited, parking deck, transit terminal, hotel, motel, extended stay facility, nightclub, dance club, electronic sweepstakes gaming operation, sexually oriented businesses, tattoo and body piercing, beach bingo, golf course, convenience store, funeral home, pawn shop, shopping center, tire sales and service, manufactured home sales and service, kennel, commercial boarding and breeding, live-work units. Now, the following are added prohibited uses: recycling collection station, recycling transfer station, water wastewater treatment facility private, automotive express service, automotive paint and body shop, automotive repair, car wash auto detailing, car wash temporary, bona fide farm, place of worship, yard sale, and a mixed-use development. The petitioner is requesting only the following uses be permitted at the subject property. Please note that storage facility and banquet hall cultural adaptive use are currently allowed in this zoning district. However, due to changes made as part of CTA 2022-04, which is currently up for consideration by the town board, they will no longer be applicable within the general commercial zoning district. A list of permitted uses was not included in REZ 2017-34, but those uses that were previously prohibited zoning conditions are marked with an asterisk, and I will note them as we read through them. So these are the permitted uses: community services, school, trade, vocational, financial institutions, government facilities and services, medical offices and facilities, parks facilities, open and civic space, greenways, bus stop, park and ride, broadcasting station, radio, television or filming studio, small wireless facilities, telecommunication facilities and services, restaurant, food service and sales, restaurant, mobile, office, business professional, indoor recreation, game room, arcade, outdoor recreation, retail sales and service, accessory buildings, sale of, brew pub or bar, this was previously prohibited as an adult use, dry cleaning and laundromat, farmer's market, health club and gym, personal service, seasonal outdoor sales and display, specialized repair service, small engine repair, vehicle parts and accessories retail was previously prohibited, Construction services, previously prohibited special trade contractor specifically, which falls under the general construction services. Brewery and distillery, research and development, accessory use, business incubator, flex space, vending machines, animal hospital veterinary clinic, greenhouse and nursery, vehicle charter services, solar energy panels, temporary mobile units, daycare accessory, daycare commercial, private utility buildings and uses, recreation facilities private, vehicle, boat, equipment, sales and/or rental with a special permit was previously prohibited. Drive-in theater with special use permit was previously prohibited as an assembly use, and place of worship temporary. The surrounding properties are generally a mix of residential, commercial, and park and open space uses. The Southview Point and Woodland Point subdivisions lie to the east, and the current under construction infinite storage is to the southeast. To the south and southwest respectively are the Parker Point and Parker's Ridge subdivisions. To the west and northwest of the property, directly across the Norfolk Southern Rail Line, is Fleming Loop Recreational Park. The 2035 Community Vision Land Use Plan calls for the small-scale commercial center classification at the subject property. This classification is defined as land supporting small-scale commercial centers that provide goods and services to surrounding neighborhoods. Their proximity to neighborhoods requires that operations be low intensity, unobtrusive, and at a scale and design compatible with nearby residential development. The requested zoning map amendment is consistent with the 2035 Community Vision Land Use Plan. The town is currently updating its 2035 Land Use Plan, and the proposed updated 2040 Land Use Plan update recommends designating the property as suburban commercial, which aligns with the current 2035 Land Use Plan's designation of small-scale commercial center classification. Public water and sewer are available to serve the subject property. The subject property is located along Southwest Judd Parkway. Southwest Judd Parkway is classified by the town's 2035 Community Transportation Plan as a 100-foot right-of-way and identified as a 3-lane, median-divided road with turn lanes and side paths, and a future carrying capacity of 18,300 average daily trips. Southwest Judd Parkway is currently a 3-lane, median-divided road with turn lanes and side paths. However, the portion of the road directly in front of the subject property is 2 lanes with no center turn lane as it approaches the railroad tracks. It has a current carrying capacity of 18,300 average daily trips. As this section of Judd Parkway has not yet been accepted by NCDOT, traffic counts have not been performed. The petitioner held a neighborhood meeting on May 24, 2022 at Curry Engineering, 205 South Fuquay Avenue, Fuquay-Varina. The meeting report is attached, and the staff takes no position as to its content. Staff recommends approval of the proposed zoning map amendment as it is consistent with the 2040 Community Vision Land Use Plan and reasonable and in the best interest of the public for the following reasons. 1, the requested zoning map amendment is consistent with the 2035 Community Vision Land Use Plan's recommendation, CF1, invest in existing growth areas, which encourages the extension of utilities and growth of development in areas that are already in the growth process to maximize effectiveness. 2, the requested zoning map amendment is consistent with the proposed updated 2040 Community Vision Land Use Plan's recommendation to designate the property as suburban commercial, as this land use designation aligns with the 2035 Land Use Plan small-scale commercial center classification. And 3, conditions proposed by the petitioner effectively limit future development to be compatible with the surrounding uses. I am available to answer any questions. I know that was complicated, but hopefully we simplified it best we could.
Any questions? Anyone wish to speak in favor? Would state your name and address, please.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. My name is Don Curry with Curry Engineering, 205 South Fuquay Avenue in Fuquay-Varina. I appreciate staff's report, and on behalf of the owner, we appreciate your consideration for this rezoning. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to help answer them. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak in favor? You have any, Scott?
No, sir, no hands are raised.
Anyone need to speak, anyone want to speak in opposition? Okay. We have any discussion? Not. All right.
Yeah, close the public hearing.
All All right, the public hearing is now closed, so now we'll entertain a motion.
Move to recommend approval of rezoning 2022-04 as presented by staff.
Got a motion, we have a second.
Second?
Got a motion and a second. Any more discussion from the board? Not all in favor? Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, no. It's approved. I'll let you have it back. Andy?
All right, this time we're done with public hearings. We'll move into other business items. Item 5A, preliminary subdivision plat, Springwood Towns subdivision, subdivision PR 2021-03. The purpose of this agenda item is to consider a preliminary subdivision plat submitted by the Spalding Group for Springwood Towns located at 917 South Judd Parkway, Southeast and 0 Award Street. Further information will be provided by staff.
Thank you. I'm submitting the agenda abstract and supporting documents into the town official records. The submitted preliminary subdivision, Springwood Towns, is located at 917 South Judd Parkway Southeast and 0 Award Street on 6.623 acres in the residential medium-density conditional zoning district. The following conditions are proposed site-specific standards for the subject property. And this is your option. We can just, these were all previously approved, but we can run through them if you.
I don't need them. Does anybody else on the board would like for Pam to read these conditions? I think we're good, Pam.
All right. The preliminary subdivision plat proposes a townhouse development with 39 lots. The minimum allowable lot width is 18 feet, and the minimum lot width provided is 20 feet, with the average lot size of 1,944 square feet. In compliance with zoning condition 1, a minimum of 20% open space, or 1.32 acres, is required, and 60%, or 3.97 acres of open space, is provided. Vehicular access to the project area is provided via Southeast Judd Parkway and an extension of Award Street to the project entrance. Southeast Judd Parkway is classified by the town's 2035 Community Transportation Plan as a 100-foot right-of-way and identified as a 3-lane median divided road with turn lanes and side path. South Judd Parkway Southeast is currently a 2-lane road. The current carrying capacity for Southeast Judd Parkway is 12,700 average daily trips. 2020 NCDOT traffic analysis approximately a half-mile east of the subject properties and traffic counts for Southeast Judd Parkway indicate a volume of 9,800 average daily trips. Since State Spot Mobility Project SM 5705S and Town Lap Project HL 0041 incorporates the subdivision frontage along Judd Parkway, this development is requesting a fee in lieu of roadway improvements along its frontage as directed by the Land Development Ordinance. Award Street is classified as a local street by the town's 2035 Community Transportation Plan with a 45-foot right-of-way, 2 lanes and a sidewalk. As a local road, traffic counts are not available. Public water and sewer are available to serve the subject property. Utility infrastructure will be installed by the developer. The proposed preliminary subdivision plat meets all town requirements, and as such, staff recommends approval. There was something noted, there is an amount error on the cover sheet as to the existing linear footage of roadway. The engineer has been made aware of this, and this will be corrected.
All right. Does anybody have any discussion for staff on this one? If not, I'll go. It looks like this is a tough site. I mean, it looks like there's a lot of environmental on this site, but it looks like we're relaxing a lot of town standards with the roadway design on this to allow this to come in. And just kind of wanted to get staff's thoughts on the thought process behind relaxing that and where those discussions went on how we got to this point. I mean, we typically don't allow L intersections, especially L intersections that are not at 90 degrees, even though it's a stop condition. Just like to hear some thoughts on how we're getting to that point. I know Matt's not here, but just a little bit of discussion I think is good to understand how we got here.
Sure. So there are substantial environmental, there's a portion of an existing pond and substantial wetlands, as you can see, really the whole southeast corner of this property. So we did work with them concerning the turnaround at the end of the alley there, as well as some of the road standards, to do the best that they could do while minimizing impacts. It was important that impacts were perpendicular and not, laterally across the roadway section. So I have spoken with Matt Pulling, the Director of Engineering, and he feels comfortable that compromises were made to get as close to the town standard as possible while minimizing the environmental impacts to the maximum ability in order to come up with a good compromise that the town could live with. As far as the L shape there, that was something we have had a couple situations with that. That is a result of some existing roadway connections that needed to be made. That is a full stop going both ways. And again, Matt Pulling felt that that was a good solution, both for future maintenance versus some of the eyebrows and cul-de-sacs that we've said, and also just for clear, because it is a clear stop. Sometimes when you put a cul-de-sac and some of those kind of weird creative solutions, drivers are not real clear as to whether that's part of a curve or part of a through street, or so this would have stop bars and stop signs at this intersection. So again, engineering felt that that was the best solution for this situation.
Yeah. I may disagree with them, but that's okay. As far as like the fire truck turnaround and stuff, is Buddy, this truck turnaround doesn't appear to meet the standards that are even on the plan itself. Like the plan itself in the bottom left corner, it's really small. The truck they've provided doesn't meet those standards. Is that something we're concerned with, or did fire give any indication that they could
Right, so
park on
fire,
Judd Parkway, something like that?
Fire has reviewed these plans. The other thing is that alley length is not very long, so I'm not even sure. I don't know what the dimension is right off the top of my head, but I think there was even question whether that turnaround, that's an alley, not a public road, so I think that turnaround was a bonus. And my understanding is, again, that there are additional environmental impacts right on the south there, so that was another one that they worked with both fire and engineering to come up with a compromise that they felt met the needs of the town and was maintainable, but not any additional impacts.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I feel like we're giving up a lot in our stand. I appreciate staff working on modifying standards and meeting intent and doing the things to help development spur, but for me, this one feels like we're kind of shoehorning this one in there and giving up a lot for what we're getting, but that's just kind of my personal take on it. When I looked at it, I feel like we've got some open space and a dog park that I don't know how we get to. Just those kind of things. It leads, I think there's some more development that should happen with the plan before it gets to town board, but again, that's just my opinion. So the board can discuss and have an opinion as well. Any questions from you guys?
I guess I'd like to state my concern about about this very thing is that is more about setting precedent again. We've had I'd hate to see this be used as an example, right?
Right.
Oh well, you bent it for this. Now, let us do some, do the same thing, and then it becomes these relaxations become an expected standard. And I guess the other question that I have is, if we didn't bend these standards, what would they have given? Would it have been impossible to do, or would it have been that they would have had to give up some lots, or maybe the dog park would have been just a walkway or something? I want to kind of understand what trade-offs we asked them to make to meet those standards, or what ones we saw, for them, whether they'd be even able to do this, or was it just a matter of would we be able to do it with this is an awful lot of, they've got them crammed in everywhere, right? They've got, plenty of lots cut out here, but that's, and I understand some of the challenges with just the way the parcel is itself, which is, as I remember this property and the other properties and some other things that we've done over the many years, this has got the history of being kind of the crust end of the bread
Mm-hmm.
after everything else has been cut off. I mean, that's really where we're at.
Right. This was previously the Sugar Run Apartments, I believe.
Right, yeah, so it's,
Proposed.
you know, we, whether this is better or worse, I don't know, but I guess that's the question I have, is about, you know, bending these standards, do we set a precedent? And how do we kind of back off and really kind of highlight that this is, you know, and then also what's, I don't think you really expressed in your, you know, as you talked about this, that you expressed, you know, why we made these changes, or what was, you know, that it would have been impossible to do this, or just understand the why of
Right.
why we bent the you know, our standards in order to make this happen.
Sure. And so right off the bat, I cannot answer, I mean, obviously, one of the decisions the developer would have to do is the costs of the infrastructure installation to the number of lots they're getting and how those all balance out, whether this would be impossible to you or not. So I can't answer that question, because obviously that's a financial and monetary question that they would have to address. There were some changes that were made specifically along Judd Parkway. Originally, those townhomes on that top end backed onto Judd Parkway, and there was a public road there, so that was one of the things we worked with them. Our new standard that encourages them to be fronting on to Judd Parkway with some street trees, and that was the introduction of that dog park also, that would sort of be a street frontage. They would have some open space up there, and so that was a later flip, shifted from a public road up there to the alley, which gave them additional room to work with and also pulled them a little further off some of the environmental features. And again, you know, the engineering department was very strict on some of the standards. You know, one of the things that Andy had mentioned previously is that there are some substantial retaining walls on this site. Some of them are very close to the right-of-way. So it has been noted that no tiebacks to any of those retaining walls can be in the public right-of-way. And that is noted on the plans, and they have been made aware of that moving forward. So there were definitely some specific elements that the town is not negotiable on, that being one of them, the retaining walls. And you know, this is a tricky spot because it is an infill that really has existing features on 360 degrees around it that they're having to tie into, you know, between existing roadways, to existing development, to some drainage issues. On the north side there, that there's another existing site plan that is in, that they've been working, we've been working in cooperation with that engineer for that site plan to make sure that neither development causes or makes anything worse with existing drainage situations. So from that point of view, you know, again, the town and the engineering department decided and prioritized those elements that they thought were critical elements, and those that we thought were a little more flexible to support an infill project on a very difficult site. And this is where we ended up.
Yeah, so I guess I would ask that maybe on future, when we, you know, when we actually do, in this sense, I do feel like we've actually relaxed. You know, it's like we're not holding you to a certain standard that we have written down as part of our engineering standards. We're not holding you to that we should, as a planning board, be informed of that kind of list of these are the, you know, the variations, you know, what's different, you know, what's kind of out of.
Kind of the justifications for the
yeah,
exemptions.
Even just having a list to say, okay, you know, this is not the right size, or this is an alleyway, and we would want to, you know, those are the kind of things that I would just like to see them, even just a quick list of, these are the things that we know are out of kilter on this one, and this is why. And then I think that might also, if we try to do that in the future, that might also help us to prevent these from being a recurring problem where everybody comes in with, you know, say, you know, if you change this, we're going to have to tell the planning board, we're going to have to tell the town board, and they're going to have to approve you,
Sure.
you know.
It's like a deterrent.
Yeah, and I think that's what we want as the planning board and as the town board. We want to deter, you know, I would rather this developer come forward with a plan that was actually within our standards. And maybe they came to you with it and said, you know, we tried to do this is what it looks like, we can't make this work, but we could make option 2 work if we change X, Y, and Z. I would like to see that comparison. I would just like to see what would work, or what could they do to actually meet our standards? And then this is what we really couldn't make the pro formas or whatever work on that. So we needed to add 2 or 3 or 4 more lots, and this is how we did it, by bending these engineering standards that you have and getting agreement to that. So
Right.
it would be
We
nice
can
to
definitely incorporate that into the staff report, I think.
yeah,
that's
in the staff
constructive.
report, we should definitely see where, because my assumption, especially if I get a staff recommendation, is that this meets all the standards. And in this case, it did.
It doesn't, yeah. It's hard to tell those. I mean, I guess it brings up another good point, Pam. You said there's another site plan that's connected to this one, or near it, or you said something with the drainage, and there's another site plan coming in and review in conjunction with this one?
It's not in conjunction, it's adjacent.
So did they share property lines?
Oh, yes, it's to the north.
So do they it's north of Judd Parkway? The other
It's south
side?
of Judd Parkway, north of this property.
Okay, so did they is there any interconnectivity between those two projects, or no?
It was determined that that was not necessary because of the issues there are some major environmental features on the north end of Award Street. So the engineering department made the
That's a mess right
determination
there.
that Award
Yeah.
Street can end where it is.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
I thought we gave all that away.
Well, I mean, I
We
guess.
didn't give all of it away, but we gave away the right of way a long time ago.
Yeah, I mean, it's messy. It's a tough site, for sure.
Yeah.
I guess with that,
So
look to the board here for more
is,
discussion.
is this the first draft of the plan, or? was
Absolutely
there-
not.
I mean, was like Ed was saying, was there a version that actually conformed to all the requirements?
So no, there were versions, obviously, we started with their proposal, and then compromises and revisions and edits were made through the subdivision review process to come up with what you're seeing in front of you right now. And staff did, through the review process, requests were made to meet those specific standards, and justification was given as to why those standards either couldn't be met or efforts were made to get closer.
Yeah, I think it's pretty easy to see why they couldn't be met. I mean, like, it's what they would do is you'd lose units. I mean, that's what it boils down to. I guess the question we have to ask yourself as the board is, like Ed said, at what point is it precedence? What point is it understanding that the site's hard to work with? I think it is a good idea for somewhere on the plans for us to note if we don't meet an LDO or a town spec. I mean, it's hard at town specs at this level because you're not really engineering it fully yet. So, but some of the things, horizontally, you know whether you have the curves or not. You know what type streets you're doing. So those kind of things I think could be noted. Fire truck turnarounds, you know whether you meet those or not. Those kind of things. I feel like that's something planning board probably should know as you're reviewing it. It's hard to say yes to something when you don't know those things. But overall, it's not a horribly dense project.
Yeah, I have to say, I'm inclined to approve it as is, but I did want to make sure that we have those caveats
Yeah.
for both for the future and also maybe to share with the town board that we start being explicit about the exceptions, to our standards or processes.
So you're asking in the staff report, and for future cases like this, a bulleted
Yeah, a list of,
of-
these are engineering, these are exceptions to our standards. If we actually made exceptions, now, obviously, we work together to adjust things so that they're right, but if this is clearly doesn't meet our normal standards, and if we saw this on, some green field, we would say, no, right? So we understand why these are, and that's kind of, that's really what I'd be looking for, is just list them out so that we can review them and research them and say, is that a trade-off that we as planning board would recommend to the town board, or is that a trade-off that is either requiring, danger or even, inconvenience to the people that will live there? How does it impact the citizens, neighbors, or whatever, if we're not requiring certain standards to be met?
Yeah, I don't think it's any different than knowing that there's a fee in lieu requested and why there's a fee in lieu.
Right.
Because normally we wouldn't know that. We would you'd look at the plan and go, hey, why are they not widening Judd Parkway?
Yeah.
So I think that's a
At least I
good
got
point.
that on there.
Huh? Yeah, you got that one on there. Yeah, that one's on there. I was gonna say that's the same kind of thing, but
Yep.
All right, well, Ed, if you want to make a
Okay,
motion,
yeah,
go
I'll make
for
a
it.
motion to recommend approval of Springwood Town's preliminary subdivision plat, sub-PR 2021-03, as presented and recommended.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any other questions by the board or before? I mean, everybody knows what they would be voting for, and
Yes, the request to staff is a separate item, just,
that's more of
would
a.
you please add that to your staff
Yep.
report in the future?
That has been
Yeah.
noted.
Thank you.
So, there's no, I mean, I think for me, it's a little bit, I think we're giving up too much for it. But that's just the way I feel about that. But at this time, we'll open it up to a vote then, if everybody is good and doesn't have any more questions or ready to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? No. Did you vote?
No.
No. So you got 2 noes. Did you get that, Eva? Okay. 2 noes. All right. That motion passes. We will move on to item 6A. Purpose of this agenda item is to receive information on the disposition of the planning board's recommendation to town board of the commissioners since the May 16th, 2022 planning board meeting. Any questions with that?
I just had a quick question. They tabled both the land use plan and then, of course, the text amendment that affected it as well. What was just the general thinking of why they were delaying it? Did
They need a little more time to read
okay,
it.
because staff hadn't, so they were kind of like us when we first.
Right.
Okay,
And
so-
it was purely, honestly, it was purely the land use plan.
Right, yeah,
We
'cause
automatically tabled the
Yeah, yeah.
LDO just because,
Yeah, because it doesn't.
go
if-
together.
If you don't have them both together, it doesn't make much sense. Okay.
So-
Yeah, that was the only thing I was.
Yeah, there's a lot of information there.
Yep.
All right. Any more questions? If not, we'll go to item 7 and somebody have to fill in for Barbara.
I move we adjourn.
Got a motion? Got a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.